welcome to the English Matura with JB vodcast. Today, we're going to get into a pretty wild idea. What if stupidity is actually more dangerous to society than evil? I know, it sounds a little out there, but trust me, there's some really powerful thinking behind this. So, let's get right into it. All right, let's frame it like this. You've got your classic movie villain, right? Lasers, evil plans, the whole shebang. Or you have a huge crowd of perfectly good people who just stop thinking for themselves. We're always on the lookout for the obvious bad guys, but what if the real danger, the bigger threat, is something a lot quieter, something a lot harder to spot? So this powerful idea comes from a guy named Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Now, get this. He was a pastor and a writer, and he came up with this idea while he was locked in a Nazi prison during World War II. He was literally surrounded by evil, but he saw something else. He realized that you could argue against an evil idea, you could fight it. But this other thing, this stupidity, well, that was like trying to fight a ghost. It was an invisible force you couldn't even grab onto. Now, this is absolutely crucial. When Bonhoeffer used the word stupidity, he was not talking about someone's IQ. Not at all. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. He was talking about something much more dangerous, something any of us, and I mean any of us, can fall into. He was talking about a choice. Yeah, he called it voluntary stupidity. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that moment we choose to switch off our own brain. It's when we decide, you know what, it's just easier, or maybe it feels safer, to go along with what everyone else is saying instead of trusting our own gut. It's basically a surrender of your own independent mind. And, you know, he wasn't the only one who saw this. The philosopher Hannah Arendt, she noticed something very similar. She was covering the trials of Nazi war criminals, and she was just shocked. She expected to see monsters, but instead, she saw these frighteningly normal, ordinary men. These were just regular people who, at some point, had simply stopped questioning the orders they were given. She gave it a name that'll send a chill down your spine: the banality of evil. The idea that horrible things can happen, not because of some deep-seated hatred, but from a simple refusal to think. Okay, so right now you're probably thinking, no way, not me, I would never do that. And look, it's easy to think that, but psychology shows us that falling into this trap is way, way easier than we'd like to admit. In fact, a super famous experiment revealed just how ridiculously powerful this pressure to just go with the flow really is. It's called the Asch Conformity Experiment, and it's brilliant in its simplicity. So, picture this. You sign up for what you think is a simple vision test. You're sitting in a room with a few other people. They show you one line, and then 3 other lines of different lengths. All you have to do is say which of the 3 lines matches the first one. Easy, right? The answer is super obvious. But then, the first person gives an answer that is clearly totally wrong, and the next person gives the same wrong answer, and the next. Now, it's your turn. What do? Do you say what you can clearly see with your own 2 eyes, or do you go along with the group? Well, the results were, honestly, they were staggering. A whopping 75%, 3 out of every 4 people, went along with the group's obviously wrong answer at least once. Think about that. Even when they knew the group was wrong, the social pressure to just fit in was so intense that they literally denied the evidence of their own eyes. So that's just a basic part of human psychology, right? A powerful, powerful tendency. But now, what happens when you take that ancient human instinct and you plug it into modern technology? Well, you get a supercharged 21st century version of the exact same problem. Our digital world in many ways has made it even harder to think for ourselves. I mean, just think about your own social media feed for a second. The algorithms are literally designed to show you more of what you already like, more of what you already agree with. It's good for business. But what it does is it creates these digital echo chambers where our own ideas and beliefs are just bounced back at us again and again and again. It's like we're in a room where everyone is always agreeing with us, which makes it incredibly difficult to even hear a different point of view. And this isn't just a feeling, okay? This has a real, measurable effect. One major study found that on social media, false stories spread 6 times faster than true ones. 6! So why is that? Well, it's because the fake stuff is often way more shocking, more emotional. It's designed to tap right into our group's feelings and biases. It's basically the perfect storm, the ideal breeding ground for the exact kind of voluntary stupidity Bonhoeffer was warning us about all those years ago. All right, so this all sounds pretty bleak, I know. But here's the good news, and it's really good news. We are not defenseless here, not by a long shot. There are actual, proven ways to fight back against this pressure, and to build up that muscle of independent thought. Let's go back to that line experiment for a second. The researchers tried a little twist on it. What if, they wondered, just one person in the group of actors was told to give the correct answer, breaking the consensus? The result was incredible. The moment just one person spoke up against the crowd, the conformity rate plummeted by almost 80%. That's the power of one voice. It gives everyone else permission to trust their own eyes again.
And that right there brings us full circle, back to Bonhoeffer. He said that you can't just lecture someone out of this. You can't just instruct them to think critically. It doesn't work that way. It has to be a personal choice. He called it an act of liberation. You have to actively free yourself from that group pressure.
And we actually have the data on how to do this. For instance, studies show that people who make it a habit to actively question their own beliefs, not just other people's, see a 45% jump in their critical thinking skills. And check this out. People who deliberately seek out and listen to opposing views get 60% better at spotting fake news and misinformation. These aren't just nice ideas, folks. These are real, measurable results.
You know, the linguist Noam Chomsky put it perfectly. He said, thinking for yourself is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it gets weaker. It's something you have to practice. It's a habit you have to build every single day. It takes real active effort, especially when you're tired or stressed, because that's exactly when it's easiest to just give in and go with the flow.
So I want to leave you with this final question. It doesn't have to be some huge world-changing debate. It can be something small. What is one thing, just one idea, one headline you scroll past, one group opinion you hear, that you will stop and really, truly question for yourself today? Because that one small act of liberation, that's where it all starts.